Hello everyone. So last night there were shocking videos that came out from County Laois in Garrick's Moor Bog, particularly in County Laois. Really shocking scenes, and I'll go into all the details now in a second about the backstory, a bit of the backstory that we know about. We don't know all the full details to put it straight, but we know a good bit, what I'm trying to say, what I have at hand at the moment. Now there probably will be more that comes out, but what I have at the moment, I tell you what I know, basically. And now this is to do with, I suppose, a private company. This is not on Garda Síochána, a state body. A private company. Majority of them are English or non-Irish. Majority would be from Africa, etc., not from Ireland. And again, Irish people, particularly as you know in our history, particularly during the famine, particularly during 2008, the financial crash, and obviously at the moment too, we have the most evictions of people's property since the famine nearly. So Irish people are very protective of their land because it happened to us in the past where the British took the Irish people out of their properties, etc., because they couldn't afford to pay the landlords, the English tenants, and the British Army and the Black and Tans used to bring them out and burn the cottages in some cases. But again, unfortunately, history is repeating itself there because we have this is to do with land now. This is to do with a bog more than a house, but you get the gist. But the really worrying thing is here that there's non-nationals, non-Irish people, and the reason why too, a lot of Irish people won't do this kind of work because the reason why they know their history. But I think it's disgraceful that we have English people particularly, coming over here now in 2026 and telling Irish people to get off their land, off their own, in their own country, to get off their land. I don't know why we fought 800 years just to have a British person come over and tell an Irish person in County Laois, get off your land, along with loads of other people from Timbuktu. It just goes to show you it shouldn't be accepted, it should not be acceptable at all. Whatever but the Gardaí, at least in fairness to the Irish police, in fairness, we don't want foreign security crowds. That with the information I have at hand, that this is a Northern Ireland security firm. This is not even an Irish security firm, so they have no business to be done. They can go and police in England if they want, or they can go and do whatever they want in England, but they won't come here and do it. And now, thankfully, they were one out of it, and rightly so. There should have been one out of it from the start. Thankfully, they were one out of it. But the whole backstory of this, I should have probably went into the backstory, but I'm not happy about it. I don't think the majority of Irish people would be happy with this because our grandparents would have had to deal with this. Our grandparents would have had to put up with this with the Black and Tans bringing them out, tearing them out of their house and putting them on the side of the road and burning their cottage. That's what happened years ago during the famine, etc. It was all English tenants. And it was all English landlords bringing out the Irish tenants and stuff. And it's a huge callback to our history. There's a huge wound on our history, and it brings back a wound. It really, really does. Seeing this, it really does. Even though it's only property, but still the point of the matter. And the other thing I want to go into, as I say, the beginning, I should have said, this is all to do with a dispute with On Board Panola, which is a kind of semi-state organisation. Semi-state, I would say. It's not fully paid for by the state, but it is a semi-state to do with land and property, and particularly boglands and stuff like that. And what the information I have at hand, it is a family matter in a way too. That On Board Panola got a complaint or something like that. It was family issue too on that side. But On Board Panola pretty much are probably paying the security crowd to go in to basically seize this land. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. Of course, they can't get any Irish people to do it, so they're paying people from England to come in to do it. I don't know why nobody ever, and again, we don't even know the security crowds company, but the information I have at hand, that's not an Irish security company. And the majority, there's probably only 2 Irish people out of the maybe 20 that were sent that were Irish people. The rest of them were non-nationals, either English or from the Congo, from Timbuktu, etc. Because we don't know that none of them have security tags, none of them have any IDs. As you know, as a security officer, and you see it just even, for example, I say in Cavan, people would know of security officers out of the hospital, private security that's paid to the hospital. They have their name badge and their name and their face in their badge and who they work for, what company they work for. And even I know people in Brookside Security here in Cavan, and they have their ID tag saying Brookside Security and their name, and they have a number, security number to look up. So they're officially registered by the organisation, and the name is there to basically, if they do anything wrong, people have their name and their number. But in this case, you could see from the video, there's no identification. They're all dressed in high vis, but there's no identification. There should be a tag, or there should be some kind of thing showing who they are. And it's not just me that's saying, it's an Irish law. As far as I can regard, that you have to be, and particularly if you act as security, that you have to have your identification. Or you have to basically tell people who you are, and etc. You can't just turn up on somebody's land and say, we're such and such, you need to have the proof of it. But it is literally calls back to the Black and Tans time, where the Black and Tans went in and did what they did with Irish people. And in Cavan we're no different. We had to deal with it years ago, and there's been many stories I could tell you about the Black and Tans in the 1930s, coming into Cavan, tearing women and children out of their house and doing awful stuff to them, and setting their houses on fire. And many other cases. I can think of one case, Tom Sheridan. Sorry, apologies. Tom Sheridan. He was killed. He was an Irish volunteer, during the War of Independence, and he was killed in an ambush off an OIC convoy. And in retaliation, even though his family had nothing to do with it, went and burned his family's houses, and tried to kill them all. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say. And evicted and then taking out people of their houses. And the stories in Cavan too of the OIC officers taking people out of their houses and seizing their houses for them to live in. And as I say, I could go on and on and on, but again, what I'm trying to say, this is only recent enough history, it's not that long ago in the grand scheme of things. And Irish people, as I say, are very protective of their land, and rightly so, because these are foreigners, foreign agents acting in this country. And I don't know why the Gardaí turned up and stood and looked at them. The Gardaí should have seized them, arrested them, and told them to go home. Because they've no business here, especially what they're doing. Now, we don't know all the details about the backstory, as I say. We don't know what's the story. Is there an active court case of he owes money to the state, or what's the story? But still, regardless, I don't think it's a good look. But whoever set them, whether it be on board Panola or whoever set these people into this bog area of County Laois, it's not a great look. It's not a great look, especially in Ireland. You can do it in other countries, but you shouldn't come here, especially with English people coming here to do this. It's not a great look. Not a great look at all whatsoever. But it's absolutely disgraceful. Rightly so, they were ran out of it. Rightly so. They should have been ran out of it straight away. And to be totally honest, the Gardaí should have ran them out of it too. But yeah, it's utterly disgraceful that this happens in 2026 Ireland. That we have English people coming over to tell Irish people what to do in their own country, in their own land that we had to fight 800 years for. It's absolutely insane to even suggest that. It would have been absolutely insane 50 years ago to suggest that an English security company be coming in with English people, with people from Timbuktu, with people from Cairo, from Ethiopia, wherever, to come in and tell an Irish person what they should do and what they can't do in their own land. It would have been absolutely insane. As I say, there's probably only one or two out of the 30 or maybe 30 that were there that were Irish. But it's very very upsetting to see, because especially if you know the history of Ireland, it's not great look. It really is not great, and I don't know why they didn't think about that. It just goes to show that they don't care. And I don't even think the majority of people that were there that understood the history, because there's a lot. Seeing that, it harks back to the times of old, and it's really upsetting. But thankfully they have been moved, but they probably will be back, unfortunately. But I think it's really worrying, and I think it's worrying to see that none of our politicians coming out and saying anything. There's no sign of any of the politicians saying anything. There's no sign of any TD or senator saying this is not acceptable, that English people be coming over to Ireland to tell Irish people what to do in their own country, in their own land. Whatever, but again, if it is an issue, it's up to Garda Síochána, as I say. If it is an issue with land or payment or whatever the story may be, it's the Gardaí. At the end of the day, that's who's there to serve the public, is the Gardaí. The Gardaí should have went. It was the Gardaí's responsibility from the start to sort it out, and to dictate, but basically say the law. These private companies, at the end of the day, shouldn't be doing it. It's up to the Gardaí, as I say. And that's what it should be. It should be the Gardaí. If anybody, instead of sending these security people, it should have been the Gardaí that was sent out to either complain to the owner or whatever, to say you need to do this or you need to do that, because they are the law. In fairness, they are the law under the Irish Constitution. These people are not the law. These people from England and stuff, they're not the law. They're nowhere near it. We don't even know that they have a license to do security in Ireland, and especially if they're not an Irish company. They probably wouldn't have the authority, first of all, to come here and tell us what to do, because they don't have an Irish security license. I can't go over. Take myself, if I had a security license here in Ireland, I couldn't go over to Sweden and say I want to become a security guard here, even though because I'm sure they would say this is not a valid license. This is an Irish license. You need a Swedish license to do security here. And that's fair enough, because you're in a different country and stuff. That's fair enough, even though it might be a bit different, maybe, or maybe the same, etc. But still, you get the point. But yeah, it's worrying to see. As I say, it's back to the old times, it seems to be. But anyway, do let me know what you think. As I say, there's probably a few things that didn't get out yet. But as I say, I let this happen overnight. I've looked at it. I don't like the optics of it, to be totally honest. As I said at the beginning, I don't know the whole details. But still, at the end of the day, it's not a great look. Not a great look in a country that had to put up with so much of this in the past. I thought we left it in the past. We even remember in Roscommon a few years ago what happened. We thought, oh, that was forgotten. That never happened again, but unfortunately it does. But anyway, let me know what you think.